And then the other thing is, I tend not to work with venture-backed companies because they have more money than is good for them, and they're misusing it. They're not really caring about the customer. They're all about branding and making themselves feel good, and they don't. The jerk factor is just too high in those situations.
I've got two questions that come to mind. One is about how the buyer's journey has changed, and I listened to one of the webinars that you were giving, and I've heard this a lot where the seller used to do a lot up front, and now the buyer is actually doing a lot of that research up front before they actually contact. Can you tell me whether you're seeing that through your research and just what you feel about that change in the buyer pattern? Yeah, in my speeches I talk about the fact that it used to be 80% of the questions, or for the web, really, and even before Google, I would say, customers got 20% of their questions answered, and then they had to go to a salesperson to get the rest. Now that's flipped, and I would say it's even more than 80%. Now they're probably getting 90% of their questions answered, and by the time they're calling a salesperson, their questions are so specific. Okay, I know this, and this about you. I've put you in my grid. I've got you characterized, and now I need to know, can you do this one little thing? Okay, and you better have a salesperson on the phone who can answer that question. And this is where the gap between the buyer's process and the seller's process has just gotten enormous. I mean, this is a tsunami that's just making its way through the world, where the buyers are like, I want this, and the sellers are going, no, that means we have to have these technical, highly trained people, or we have to give them access to databases, or, that's too much. We just want them to stand there and say, this is great, and we love it, and you're going to be happy, and limited only by your imagination, and ROI, and blah, blah, blah. And the customers are just, they're just so over it. They're just like, they're like, gag me. They just can't stand the idea of hearing another salesperson tell them all that junk. It's bad. So
people trying to date, and the guy is sitting there, and he's wearing this lounge lizard outfit, and the minute he walks in, the girl's like, oh, no, out of here.
It doesn't look good impression, does it? Can I ask you where you've gone in to work with a company and you found a really good example of how they are listening to their customers, but they want to take it to the next level? So they've got some mechanism. Yes.
And, this is kind of interesting because this is usually a situation where they're actually very close to the customer. There's a company called Bazaarvoice, and they make software. They're based in Austin, Texas. Very smart people. It's shifted now because they've kind of, some of the great people have left, so it's not as great of a company as it was. But when they were at their peak, what they were doing was helping people take any review of their product and syndicate it, suck it into their own portals and systems so they could publish customer reviews. They would curate them very often. If it was a really terrible thing, they might try to get back to them and fix the problem rather than post the thing. But for the most part, they were posting the good and the bad reviews on their site. And this company makes it possible to go out and do that. Very smart company, understands their customers. Customers were basically delighted with the service, but they wanted to sell to a different audience. And I have another company, a marketing automation company, that's absolutely top of their game company, and same kind of thing. They've asked me to come in and say, look, we're selling well to the marketing people, but the marketing people don't have enough power to convince the CEO, and we need to get the salesperson on our side as well. Mm-hmm. And we need to figure out what they care about, who they really are, and what they really care about right now. And so I'm doing this psychological detective work for them and really figuring out how these people buy, what they care about, what their concerns are as they're trying to purchase, what their buying process list looks like. They have to meet these criteria and so on. So that's pretty common, actually.
Mm. the use of personas? This seems to be a bit of a buzzword at the moment. What's your thought process around that?
Personas are great if they're based on real people. If you sit in a committee, in a meeting room, and make them up, you may just be, you may as well not have bothered, because it's even worse. Now you've taken all of your misperceptions and the insulting. I mean, really, a lot of times it's very insulting, and you've applied it in a way that's got more structure to it, so it seems more real. Mm-hmm. And it's the best example of that was a gal named Lamka, who's got a marketing portal, I guess the best way to describe it. And she was up doing a speech, and a bunch of us were in the audience. Hang on. My phone's telling me we're going to talk in 15 minutes. Okay. I was at an E-Metric Summit and speaking there, and she was one of the speakers as well. And she got up and talked about, she said, okay, I want you all to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine a woman who's getting government assistance, who has a couple of children. I think those were the requirements. And so I just want you to picture that person. So we all did. And then she opened said, open your eyes, and up on the screen was a picture of Princess Di. Single person, hundreds of people in the room, not one of us was thinking about Princess Di. We were thinking of the quintessential welfare mother, So to me, that's how bad these are. Because when I go out and I interview the customer, the thing that you can learn about customers using all of your own data is how they do things and what they do. You can guess about what they did or to look at what they did, but you don't know why. You don't know why they picked you. You don't know why they came after you and wanted this and what the problem they were trying to solve. And, it's very insulting for somebody to come to you and say, well, you have brown hair, therefore, I'm going to make these assumptions about you. But you know perfectly well that they're missing. It's like when they do those multiple choice surveys where they say, would you be interested in A, B, C, or D? And you're like, well, no, none I'm interested are on your list. And so, in fact, what was it today? I got an email. Oh, no, I went to the Forbes magazine site, and they asked me if I'd be willing to answer some questions while I was looking at their content, and I'm always curious about that. So I said yes. The first question they asked me was, what's your age? How is this going to help you? How is this going to help me help you? What are you going to do with this data that's actually, and it's none of your business. They ask income, it's like, it's none of your business. If you really want to sell more to me, ask me what I'm interested in. I could be 85 and be interested in technology in a way that nobody would ever expect. Yes. So again, this whole persona thing has really, it angers me and it frightens me both, because it's such an insult to the real customer with real needs and very specific things that they want to deal with.
I knew that it'd fire you up. So that's great. I also wanted to ask you about the context between marketing and selling and the gap that you see in organisations around that, just for another fiery discussion.
Yeah. So marketers are cats and salespeople are dogs. And that's a problem right there. Because the salespeople, and by the way, I started out in sales. I always tell people I'm a recovering salesperson, so I can say whatever I want about salespeople. I actually long been recovered. I'm like somebody who hasn't had a drink for 30 years or something. But what I've learned about the two things, I actually got into marketing because as a salesperson, I was so disgusted with the tools I was getting from marketing that weren't working. So I said, okay, we've got to fix this problem. So then I went into marketing and found out why those tools were not working, because marketers never talk to customers. So that's a problem. Salespeople are very immediate, and they don't think in terms of bigger trends. So